Well, welcome everyone to another live episode of Level Up Law, where every Tuesday at noon, South Carolina Legal Services is leveling up your legal knowledge on an area of law that we practice in. And today I'm going to be bringing you a special presentation at the suggestion of one of our viewers. As you may know, we have a QR code where you can click and send us a suggestion for a topic for us to do here on Level Up Law. And that's how we got the idea about today's topic, which is foreclosure rescue scams. So before we go ahead with that, producer Kenneth is here with me in the background. Thanks for being here, Kenneth. And as always, we want to remind you that this is not legal advice. It's just general information for the public, and foreclosure rescue scams are a rampant problem. And so I'm really glad to bring y'all some information about that. And do remember that if you do need the help of a lawyer, because in much of this presentation, I will be talking about the importance of a lawyer or a trusted person in these situations, you can apply for our assistance with a foreclosure, or just, to help you with reviewing paperwork. And all of that information is going to be shown to you here on the screen. So let's start right here. Foreclosure rescue scams. Are you a target? And how can you avoid getting scammed? So, and you'll see here our Connect card. This is how you can get in touch with us, and more detail on that at the end. But always remember to scan this QR code. I'll give you a second to do that right now, and we'll show it to you again, I believe, at the end of the presentation. But just remember that what that QR code does is to take you to a spot where you can sign up for our newsletter, but you can also check on that same form to receive our educational resources by email as well. And that includes notification about episodes of Level Up Law. And I believe that form also tells you how you can donate to South Carolina Legal Services. That's always important for us. All right, let's talk about foreclosure rescue scams. And first, what is a foreclosure rescue scam? When I say that, what exactly is it that I am talking about? Well, it's a type of fraud that targets you as a homeowner if you're in foreclosure. And the way that scammers usually find out that you're in foreclosure is if a foreclosure case has actually been filed. There are some other ways that they can find that out, but typically it's because a foreclosure lawsuit has been filed. So here in South Carolina, we're a judicial foreclosure state. So that means your home cannot be foreclosed and sold without a lawsuit happening that you get notice of and are allowed to participate in, and then an actual court order ordering that there's a foreclosure and the property should be sold. So with a foreclosure case, something called a lis pendens is filed. And a lis pendens is notice that litigation is pending. So typically the reason that that is filed at the clerk of court's office is so that anyone who's interested in the title to that property, maybe someone who wants to buy it or is buying it, maybe someone a company who might be putting a mortgage on the property, they would want to know if there was some kind of lawsuit or litigation that was pending that involved that property, because they may not want to buy it or finance the purchase of it. So usually, and that's on the public index, you can find that at sccourts.org. And there's a way to filter for just the word lis pendens. For example, you can go in there and say any lis pendens that's been filed in the last 30 days and get a whole list of them. So a lot of times that's how a scammer is going to find out that you're in trouble. You might be struggling with your mortgage, and you might be a really good target for them for one of their scams. So, typically, they're telling you they're going to rescue you, right? They're going to rescue you and your home from this terrible foreclosure that's about to happen. Maybe they're going to pay off your mortgage, they're going to buy your property and somehow do some kind of transaction or deal. But usually what happens is you end up paying money and not having your house anymore. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen and how you can spot a scam. Okay, there are ways to spot scams. So number one, don't ever do business with someone who contacts you by mail, telephone, or comes and knocks on your door, having an offer for you to help rescue you from the foreclosure of the mortgage on your home. The reason that we say that is that there are companies and agencies out there who can give you legitimate help, right? And you can go to them and their services are free. So if somebody just comes knocking on your door and says, oh, I see you're in foreclosure, our company helps people who are in foreclosure, and you're probably going to get distracted by that immediate, wonderful miracle help that has brought itself to your door. But that's not the way you want to do this, okay? You want to seek out the legitimate people who can help you with the foreclosure. So these kind of companies will call, they'll send you something in the mail, they'll come to your door. And also, if they don't have that list pendants list like I was talking about, where they've done research to find out who's actually in trouble, they can just put out advertisements. Sometimes they put signs out on the side of the road. So that's not the way you want to get help with your being behind on your mortgage. That's definitely not the way. And we'll talk about, again, the best way is to find a legitimate source and go about that way. Sometimes that's your own lender. All right, number two way to avoid being scammed. Don't sign any paperwork that has to do with your home without talking to a lawyer. Okay? And of course, not their lawyer. Right? They say, oh, well, we've got a lawyer that'll help you with all the paperwork. No, you want your own lawyer, and that's not that hard to find. Lots of lawyers will do a free consultation or a consultation for a very limited, hourly amount. Here at Legal Services, our services are free if you are, eligible to get those free services. And to do that, you just got to apply. And again, that information will be shown again at the end of the presentation. But yeah, don't sign any paperwork about your home just because somebody that came to your door or called you on the phone or sent you an email tells you that's the way to save your home. Because as we always say, you've got to read the terms and conditions. And that's especially true when you're talking about potentially losing your home. And finally, number three, and I think this is a really good one. If you're having trouble making your payments, contact your lender. They don't necessarily want to have to pay a lawyer to foreclose on you, on your mortgage, okay? We are in a current time where mortgage companies are, they're used to modifying mortgages and getting people, some help with their payment or whatever to make them be able to stay in their home and have a mortgage payment that they can afford, while still having the mortgage company get payment on the loan and have that loan perform as hopefully they originally intended it to. So best way to avoid being scammed, go to your own lender and try to work with them on figuring something out. Hopefully they'll be helpful to you. Okay. Now, how do you know if a company is legit or not legit? Well, legitimate companies, the person's going to talk to you in person. They're going to explain what's going on. They're going to go over the paperwork with you. They're not going to have you sign it in a hurry, like, oh, if you don't sign it today, this won't work. You don't want to do that. You want to take your time. You want to read the papers. You also want to have a lawyer look at them, like we kind of alluded to before. And so a legitimate company is not going to have a problem with that. They're going to understand that you want to have a trusted person or a lawyer look at the paperwork for you and make sure you're not getting scammed, because, you know, it's somebody's offering to save you from foreclosure. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a scam, and you're either going to be paying money or losing your home, or both. So this is what legitimate companies are like. They follow the law. They disclose everything to you. They give you time to work things out. Now, how do you know they're not legitimate, right? Well, again, as I said to begin with, they're not going to pressure you. They're not contacting you through this kind of marketing sources, whether it be mail or signs on the side of the road, or even calling you or emailing you. That's not how that works with legitimate companies. They're going to promote themselves so you know how to get in touch with them. But, you know, it's the high pressure things. Well, you got to sign today, or if you don't do this, there's nothing I can do for you. This is the only way to save your home. Those kind of, you know, just outrageous statements. So typically, they're going to make those promises to save your home. They're going to sometimes offer you cash, right? And they'll say, oh, well, we'll save your credit. We won't let your credit suffer from this. They can't do anything about your credit. Here are some warning signs that you may be dealing with a scammer. Okay. So first, they want to be paid in advance. They got some kind of fee, and they make it seem like that's okay and that's what everybody does. You shouldn't have to do that unless it's sometimes a lawyer who might have a small or limited consultation fee. Typically, you're not going to have to pay anybody to help you with working on a mortgage modification to save your home. They're not going to ever ask you for money up front, again, unless it's a lawyer charging a consultation fee. If it's a housing counselor or someone who is helping folks with mortgage modifications and they have that program, they don't charge either. So if someone says they're a housing counselor or a mortgage helper or something like that, if they're charging you a fee, you need to look elsewhere. Okay, another warning sign is when they claim, oh, we can help save your home, and it's not someone that you went to, it's someone who's advertising at you, right? They're making offers that you haven't asked for in one of these ways that we've talked about, side of the road sign, advertising, calling you, and those sorts of things. Another one is they say, oh, don't talk with your lender anymore now. We're going to handle it from here. Or don't keep talking with your mortgage modification housing counselor. You're going to have to stop all the contact with these other people. The only time that really is a thing is if you're getting a lawyer because you've been served with a mortgage foreclosure lawsuit. And once you hire a lawyer or retain a lawyer, you are supposed to not talk with anyone else. The lawyer is now your spokesperson with your mortgage company and anyone else that wants to contact you about that situation. And it's a good thing because you can always refer scammers or anybody that's trying to contact you about the foreclosure. You just refer them to your lawyer. So that's really the only time that it's okay for a person who's helping you with your foreclosure to tell you not to talk to your lender or not to keep talking and working with your housing counselor. Okay. Another warning sign is they advise you to not make the mortgage payments anymore, or maybe they tell you you need to start sending your mortgage payment here to our company that's going to save you from foreclosure. That's always a warning sign. You want to keep making your mortgage payments if you can, but if the company is not accepting them, then you have to figure out another way And the other way is not to completely stop paying them, and it's not to pay them to some other person or company that's going to then have your money and you won't have any control over it. You know, sometimes you can just have a separate bank account or just keep in your own bank account those payments. Keep making the payments and putting them somewhere. You maybe can't make them to the mortgage company, but you can save them up so that when you get to the point where you can bring everything current or you can modify the mortgage, you've got that money already saved up and you haven't spent it on something else. Okay, another warning sign is that what they're telling you, this rescuer is telling you, is verbal. They're not putting anything in writing. Okay, lots of times they'll say, oh yeah, this will work out and we'll have some paperwork at the end, but right now you need to go ahead and sign this. Be careful about that. You always, again, want to read everything you sign or have a trusted person or a lawyer read it for you if it gobbledygook to you doesn't make any sense. Sometimes they'll ask you to sign a document that's got some things filled in and it seems okay, but there's some blank spaces, right? If there's blank spaces on a document, those can always be filled in later by someone else without your permission and consent. And if you don't, if you sign that, then you may have some difficulty being believed that you didn't sign it with that other information in it. So a couple of things there, you can, if you're going to sign it, which I don't recommend obviously with blank spaces, but mark through all the blank spaces to show that nothing was there, or just make sure you get a copy of whatever you sign, and keep it safe with you, not somewhere where someone else can get a hold of it. And finally, another warning sign is if they are telling you to deed your property to someone else. It might be them, or it might be some investment company that they are representing or something like that. That happens a lot. And it might seem legit, and you might be distracted from focusing on what you're actually doing because you're so relieved that it feels like help is on the way, but it's not legitimate help. So be sure to protect yourself. Okay, so I want to talk just a little bit about the types of scams. Now, I think there's about 7 of them that I'll talk about. It'll be very brief, but it'll just kind of give you an idea of what's out there and what people are doing that will get you in trouble and have you either lose money or your house or both. Okay, the first one is equity skimming. And before I go any further, let's just remember what equity is in your home. So equity is whatever the value of your home is, like what you could sell it for, minus what you owe on it, what your mortgage balance is, not what your original mortgage amount was, but your balance, what you owe right now. If you could pay off the mortgage, what amount would that be? So let's say your property is worth $60,000 and you owe $50,000 on your mortgage. Then your equity is that difference of $10,000. So that's a value to you. It's kind of an asset that you have. So if you sold your home for $60,000 and you paid off the $50,000, $10,000 would be left, and that would be your money. Now, in reality, that money is probably going to go to the cost of selling your property, and so you may not end up with much. But it depends on how much equity you have. Okay, so somebody comes to your door and say they're a buyer, and somehow, in their charming way, they convince you to sell your property. Quite often, that's going to not be what the true value is. And we don't always know what the value of our property is. The tax assessor says what they think it is, but quite often, depending on where you live, what state you live in, here in South Carolina, what county you might live in, or what city, it depends on what the true value of your home really is. The value of it is what somebody will pay for it. And it seems like what I hear these days is people put their property out there to sell, and they get offers right away for more than they have put it on the market for. So be careful about someone pontificating about what the value of your property is. Because if they're a foreclosure rescue scammer, they're not going to give you the true value of your property. But maybe they've convinced you to sell it at what they say the value is, and then they say that they're going to pay off your mortgage, right? They'll probably ask you to sign some paperwork. They want you to deed the property to them or transfer title to them. We think of that just generally as deeding the property, but some people call it transferring title or conveying title. And then they say, stop working with your mortgage company. You know, that's okay. You move out. We're going to take care of the mortgage. And so then they're going to rent to someone and they'll start collecting the rent. And then what happens? They don't make your mortgage payments like they promised. And this will allow them to then, or the lender to foreclose on the property, right? Because the payments haven't been made, they're going to still foreclose, and that's going to go forward. The reason is because the mortgage is still in your name. Just because you deed the property to somebody else doesn't mean that they're now responsible for the mortgage. You're still responsible for the mortgage, even if you don't have title to the property anymore. And the word skimming, the reason that this is called skimming is you may have that equity in the property. And so when the scammer sells the property to pay off the mortgage, they get that equity piece, right? That difference between what they paid you for it and what it's really worth minus the mortgage. So they're coming out smelling like a rose. All right, there's a thing called equity stripping. Okay, now there, the lender is going to offer you a loan. They're going to encourage you to maybe exaggerate your income on the application to make sure you can get approved. So this is not a legit lender that's doing this, right? And so you need the money. So you say, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead with one. Even if you may not even be able to afford those payments, but you're in trouble. So it seems like a great rescue situation. But then if you default on the mortgage payments to that lender, okay, then you're going to get a quick foreclosure, and that hard-earned equity is going to be stripped out of your home and go to that lender. State counseling agencies. Okay, that can be a big one because we do have so many legitimate counseling agencies, but we see this a lot as a result. They seem like they're legitimate. Oh yes, we're, this is where a lot of false advertising comes in because they pretend to be part of the mortgage foreclosure rescue funding from the federal government, which there's been a lot of. But if they're asking you to pay something, then that's not that kind of funding because those services would be free. But they have a name like, Greater South Carolina Mortgage Foreclosure Help. They make it sound really good. And so they say, oh, well, we'll help you. Here's our fee, usually a very high fee. But since your mortgage company isn't accepting your payment anymore because you're in foreclosure or you're at least in default, then you've got that money that would have otherwise gone to them, and you pay it to this phone counseling agency. And they might say they're going to help you negotiate a repayment plan, or they might try to organize a sale of your house or something like that. But usually they're not really doing. They might make a few phone calls. They might try to do something with selling your house. But that's stuff you can do for yourself. And that's what you need to know. You can put your house on the market with a real estate agent. You can talk to your lender and work out a payment plan. You don't need to pay somebody some high fee to do that for you. You can do it. So don't let them mislead you. Never pay up front for those kind of services. Okay, you can get it for free. Now, lender scams, sometimes a lender will say they're rescuing you from a situation by refinancing your loan your current loan. So a refinance means that you're getting a new loan, and that new loan is paying off the old one. So they might say, oh, well, we got a loan for you. The payments are going to be lower. It's going to be great. We'll save you from foreclosure. All is well, right? So like, here's an example. You've got some low payments and at the beginning of this new loan that paid off your old one, right? But you're really you traded for basically the same thing or worse with this new loan. The payment might be low because you might only be paying interest and not be paying principal. Then at the end of the loan, all of a sudden it turns out there's a balloon payment. You got to watch out for those. A balloon payment means that you've not been paying fully all along the way. And the reason you haven't had to pay that full amount of a mortgage payment is because they put a big old balloon payment on the end. And you get to the end and you've made all your payments and you think it's going to be great. And then you find out you owe however many thousands of dollars still in that balloon payment. So you got to pay attention. Pay attention to what the deal is and make sure that you are dealing with somebody who really is explaining it to you. It's not just flipping through papers and saying, oh, this is that, and that says this, and making it really quick. You want to read what you sign. And if you don't feel comfortable reading all of it, you need to be able to take it with you to a lawyer or some other trusted person and have them help you look over it. And again, if somebody doesn't want to do that, then it's a problem, and that's a big warning sign. Okay, there's something, I would call a phony or fake loan transaction. And again, in that, there's a refinancing document that they say will bring your loan current. But it's a fake document, and it turns out to just be a deed of your house to them. And if it's possibly a real loan, there's all kinds of extra fees. There might be that balloon payment, adjustable interest rate that all of a sudden is going to go up in 3 months. So you got to get an attorney to look at that. You want to be careful about those kinds of things and really know what you're signing. Because once you deed something, you deed your property to someone else or some other company, and they can immediately then deed it to someone else. And then you've got another person who may be a perfectly, legitimate person who doesn't know that they're part of the scam because they've actually paid the money to the scammer for the house. And then now you're not just dealing with the scammer, but you're dealing with this third party who bought a house and has been living in it. And it's your house. Loan flipping. Okay. This is where a lender, and again, this is not really a legitimate situation, right? With a loan with a lender. They say, oh, we'll refinance your loan. As soon as you make some payments, then they say, oh, well, let's refinance that again. We can give you some money out of your equity. Remember, we talked about that equity. Maybe your house is worth more than the 60,000. Maybe it's worth 80,000, and you only owe 50. They say, oh, well, we can refinance your loan, and the loan won't be 50,000, but it'll be 60,000. But you can get that $10,000 out of it because your property is worth more. And they can also be charging you a bunch of fees for the loan, and that can get covered up by that equity that you could get out of the home anyway. So again, refinancing a loan over and over, even if it's not a home loan, honestly, there's so many loans that you can get out there, just household, finance company loans where they just refinance over and over again. You think you're getting this extra money, but all you're doing is owing more money. So don't get in that situation. And, finally, internet and telephone, there's a lot of scamming going on here. You don't ever want to deal with someone when it comes to your home by just the internet or the telephone. Not a good idea. You need a human being that you can go and sit yourself down in front of, right? You need to know where you can find them, where their brick and mortar place is. Because if not, then there's no way to find them, no way to trace them if they have scammed you. So beware if that you're giving your information over the telephone or over the internet by email because someone has offered to save you from foreclosure. But in order to do that, they're going to give you a new loan, and then they get all of your personal information. And guess what? You don't get the loan, right? So you're in double trouble then, because not only did you not, well, really triple trouble. You didn't get saved from foreclosure, right? You're essentially in a fraudulent loan, and you've lost your home and your money. So just be careful dealing with people over the internet and with these telephone scams. So, any questions out there? That is pretty much a pretty quick overview of foreclosure rescue scams, and I thank one of our viewers for giving us that topic. I think it's a really good one. There are too many people out there who don't realize that they're being scammed. So one of our big mantras here at South Carolina Legal Services when it comes to your rights is that you've got to read the terms and conditions of a document that you're signing. Don't let someone who's putting it in front of you skim over it, right? It's fine print, it's initial here, initial there. You're ready to sign, you're going to get saved from the foreclosure that's happening. Or maybe, in a car, since you're buying a car and you're so excited to buy the new car that you don't look at what you're signing. Read the terms and conditions. It's important in everything you do. Don't assume that the person that is supposedly saving your home from foreclosure, don't assume that just because they're charming and they seem to know what they're talking about and they seem legitimate, don't get fooled. Remember those warning signs, right? Just be careful out there. Hey, I don't see any questions. Here we go. I'm going to just give you all a little bit of information about how to apply online at Legal Services. All right, you can call by phone, but that is only open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6. So if that's difficult for you, you can apply online 24/7. Usually you're going to get a call back to make sure that they have all the detail that they need, and but that's a great way to do it, and we're so glad to have that option. Tom Trent and his folks at our intake office, he's the managing attorney. They do a fantastic job. Sometimes it can take a little while, but we always have that online option. Okay, and since today was an episode that was suggested by one of our viewers, I want to give you this QR code again so that you can scan that and let us know if you haven't thought about an episode for us. If there's some legal issue you're having or that you've heard about and you want to know more about, just scan that QR code right there, and we would love to hear from you. On that, and here's the QR code if you want to apply online. That makes it easy, right? Click that QR code. Don't you love these? I think it's great. Thanks, everybody. I do want to, again, mention this QR code where you can sign up for our newsletter and to get emails about all of our other resources, including upcoming episodes of Level Up Law. Here's all of our social media handles. Check those out, right? We got a lot of good information out there, and we're getting it to you in all the ways that we can, that we think you might be finding out about what we're doing here at South Carolina Legal Services and how we can help you, or maybe even how you can help yourself. All right. Well, thanks for joining us every day today and every day that we have Level Up Law, which is every Tuesday at noon. Next week, we're going to have Deborah Mahal at the South Carolina Legal First Aid Navigators Program, and she'll be talking about what they're doing down in the Tri-County area, down around Charleston here in South Carolina, and that should prove to be very interesting to hear what they're doing to make sure that people get referred when they have legal issues. All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time on Level Up Law. Take care, everybody.